And with that, we have arrived at the present day. Over 60 years of sporting history with evolving technologies, changing rules and new ideas left the WRC looking far different to what anyone could have expected back when it began way back in 1973. When the sport entered the 2020s, everyone would have expected it to be with a bang. However, as we all know, this wasn't the case. When the COVID-19 pandemic essentially shut the world down in 2020, the WRC was just one of many branches of motorsport that was severely downsized for this year. Following on from the 2019 season, which was contested over 14 rounds, the FIA had planned to slightly decrease this showing to just 13 for the 2020 season. However, with the pandemic forcing many nations to close their borders, just 7 rallies were contested, a record low. With the exception of Chile, which was removed due to political unrest, every other rally, being Argentina, Portugal, Finland, Germany, Wales and returning favourites Safari, New Zealand and Japan, and even newcomer Belgium, were all cancelled. Some of them, such as Germany and Wales, never reappeared after this, at least for now. Even events that made it to the final roster were affected. For example, Rally Sweden had to be shortened due to a worrying lack of snow. It was a shambles. But this all meant that the 2020 season ended up being a very unique one. The point totals at the end were much lower and closer than what was usually expected. In the end, Hyundai clinched their second manufacturer's title by just 5 points over Toyota, and Sébastien Ogier took his 7th world title. 2021 would see a return to form for the competition. With most restrictions from the pandemic having been lifted, the number of rounds was increased back up to 12, and at the end of those 12 rallies, Toyota would come out on top for their 5th title, and Sébastien Ogier would claim victory number 8. If it wasn't clear, Ogier had now become a legend that could match the Sébastien that came before him. While it seems ridiculous that someone could take so many wins consecutively, it's even more ridiculous that someone else could come and match that feat straight after, not to mention the fact that they share names. What it also indicates is that the French might have to be the top contender for the best country to be born in if you want to become a world-conquering rally driver. Another thing that was made concrete this year was that the World Rally Car had finally reached its end. After 24 years in competition, 2021 would be the final year that the top level of competition would compete under this rule set. As mentioned in the previous episode, Rally 1 was now to take centre stage, as well as hybrid technology finally making its way to the stage, and homologation was a thing of the past, as any competition was rated as Category 2, which essentially stipulates that while they do not have to enter production, they do have to clearly be based on an existing road vehicle. The aforementioned hybrid system is the same in every car in the rally, being supplied by only one manufacturer. These will be used to solely power the cars in certain sections of rallies, and on special stages provide an extra 134 horsepower on top of the combustion engine. With a complete rewriting of the rules, any manufacturer wishing to continue competing was going to have to create something new. Toyota's newest monster is the Toyota GR Yaris Rally 1, based on the fan favourite GR Yaris. Hyundai retained the i20 as their choice, though faced troubles for the first few rallies, and Ford would switch from the Fiesta to the apparently more unconventional Puma. At the time of writing this, of course, the 2022 WRC season is in progress, with Rally Estonia the next event in the calendar. 2 big returns will be made this year. Rally New Zealand is returning for the first time since 2012, and Rally Japan is returning for the first time since 2010, after it was cancelled in both 2020 and 2021. Toyota looks to be taking a substantial lead over Ford and Hyundai, winning 4 out of the 6 events so far. Sébastien Ogier, however, who has been largely on top for almost a decade, is currently sat way down in 8th. Instead, Finnish driver Kalle Rovanperä, racing for Toyota, looks to be taking a comfortable lead over Belgian driver Thierry Neuville, who is racing for Hyundai. Only time will tell as to where this season will finish. While the Rally 1 cars haven't yet had time to prove themselves as worthy next steps in the evolution of the sport, one thing that is clear is that speed will not be a problem for them. The question that I would like to conclude this episode and this series as a whole with is, are electric powered rally cars truly the future of the competition? Obviously, the fight against climate change and governmental acts mandate that manufacturers switch over to cleaner and greener sources of power, but even hybrids that have been popping up as of recent simply don't have the flair and magic that a traditional rally car would have, at least in my opinion. Sure, they are just as fast if not much faster than a petrol-powered machine, not to mention safer, more efficient and far greener, and maybe in time they will come into their own and a truly unique era of rallying will emerge in the next decade. But they just don't feel as alive as an old rally car. Maybe it is just nostalgia for these machines and the legendary battles that they took in from bygone years, but there really is something special about hearing the roar of a turbocharged engine approach through the trees emanating from a metal bullet. Maybe a bit pretentious, but that's just me. Even though this era of the sport is coming to a close, we can still reminisce and enjoy videos captured at the time. And what of the new Rally 1 rules? While technologically yes, they are heading in the right direction, on another equally important level, it doesn't seem to be creating the competition a sport like this needs. There have been no new manufacturers join the battle since 2017, which is 5 years ago as of writing this. While these smaller groups of brands battling it out can be fun, there is just something awe-inspiring about seeing multiple names and people all vying for the title. It plays a large part in why the likes of Group B and Group A are so beloved. Simply put, it creates better sport. Hopefully, in time, more brands can be enticed back into the top level of competition, such as the likes of Skoda, Subaru, Citroen, Peugeot and Mitsubishi. And then maybe we could truly see a spiritual return of the golden eras from years gone by. Thanks for watching.